All right, everyone, welcome in. Bryce Gelman here today. This is not going to be a happy live stream. I mean, as you could tell by the title, and as you could tell by what has happened to my Knicks over the course of 7 games this season against the top 3 teams in the entire NBA. It's disastrous, and it's as deflating and disgusting that we all have to sit through this and watch a team that we thought had a chance to win a championship have no chance to win a championship. So we're going to get to that. First off, I want to just talk about Al Trautwig, who died today. Well, a legend and a staple of, I know, plenty of people out there, including myself, of our childhoods watching the Knicks and watching them on MSG and through the terrible years. Al Trautwig was always a familiar face and a constant presence on those broadcasts. So rest in peace to Al. Really sad news starting off the day today that I saw. And if you haven't seen it, yeah, it's really sad that Al died. But let's get into this now that that's out of the way. Again, yeah, rest in peace, Al. But listen, what we witnessed yesterday, I think, is the collective end to any hope that any of us had for the Knicks to be a real contender, to actually have a chance to win a championship. What we witnessed against the Celtics listen, I'm not going to say it's a fully healthy team. They're still missing Mitchell Robinson. Either way, the team as currently constructed with Mitch out with an injury still should be good enough to put up a fight against the best teams in the NBA. 0-7. 0-7 against the top 3 teams in the NBA. In my opinion, the only 3 real contenders in the NBA. I don't think any other team stands a chance. I think Dallas, if fully healthy, has a chance to win the championship. No other team does besides those 3. Not the Nuggets, not the Grizzlies, not any other fraud team the Knicks have blown out. It's those 3 teams. And against those 3 teams, Knicks have put up no effort. It's pathetic performance after pathetic performance after pathetic performance. In 28 quarters that the Knicks have played against the top 3 teams in the NBA, 6 of them have been solid. 6 of 24 quarters against the top 3 teams in the NBA in 7 games. Yeah, I went back and thought about it. The 3 first quarters against the Cavs, that first game they played, and they blew the 4th quarter. How many quarters against the Celtics? 1 out of 3 games? And the 2 quarters against the Thunder the first time they played them when they actually had a chance to win that game. Nothing other than that. I don't need to pull up any advanced metrics. I don't need to tell you what their defensive rating was against these teams. You don't need to hear it. If you're watching these games with your own 2 eyes, you understand just as well as I do. This team does not have it. They don't. As currently constructed, with Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5 and Jalen Brunson at the point guard position, they are not good enough defensively. How many wide open threes a game? How many I can't even fathom how many wide open threes the opposing team constantly gets. And the Celtics in the first half of this past game, I think shot 6 for 19 from 3 in the first half. They were up 21 points. 21 points. Like, at least the Knicks showed some fight in that 3rd quarter. But they needed an unbelievable performance from Jalen Brunson to get to that point where they even had a chance, cutting the lead to 4. And then Derek White hits a 3 and the game's over. It's that simple. The Knicks need everything to break their way in order to beat these top teams. They have to hope and pray that these top teams cannot hit water if they fell out of a boat from 3. And that's just not going to happen. How sustainable is that in a 7-game series? I'm trying not to lose my shit, but I've lost it. And people out there want to say, oh, Bryce, look how bad we've been. Look how terrible the Knicks have been over the last 20 years. Yeah, I get that. This year, it's not like any other year. The Knicks gave up an exorbitant amount of assets to get these 2 guys this offseason. What have they done against the top teams in the league? Nothing. McHale is a disappearing act every time they play a top team. Besides that 1 game against the Thunder, that first game, and he went cold in the second half, and the Knicks lost the game. I just like everything that we are watching with the naked eye tells us that this team simply does not have. They don't. And there are people out there. I know Chris Persianen, one of my favorite Knicks Twitter personalities. I actually met him yesterday at a bar. It was fun. He's putting it out there that this Knicks team was not constructed to win a championship this year. What? He's saying that just because the Knicks don't have older players on the roster means that they were not trying to compete this year. That they thought magically their chances would get better over the next 3 years in which they have this core together. I think that's asinine. I think Leon Rose, under no circumstance, trades 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges to not be a contender. He's not looking 3 to 4 years down the line if he's trading those amount of picks away. So I don't want to hear that. Another thing is, it's just one regular season game. What? How about 7? Try 7. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, 6 quarters they played in the 24 quarters against these top teams have been relatively solid. They're getting pounded. They show no fight, no effort defensively. And they have to pray that they have it working offensively to even have a chance to even lose by 13 points against the Celtics. Like, that could be considered a win? A 13-point loss? It's simply not good enough. They are getting blown out by these teams. Like, if it was close and the Knicks were 0-7, like, at least, like, they put up a fight. They lost, like, a heartbreaking buzzer beater. Fine. Okay. They're at least putting up a fight. We know they're almost there. Maybe Mitchell Robinson could put them over the top. Do you really think getting Mitchell Robinson back is going to drastically change this team defensively? And also, getting him back, you think that it won't impact them offensively? If they don't have it working defensively and Tom Thibodeau feels the need to play Mitchell Robinson 30 or more minutes, you're telling me the Knicks offensively are going to be anywhere as good as they are with Karl-Anthony Towns on the floor? Absolutely freaking not. No chance in hell. And you got people out there calling for Tom Thibodeau's firing. I'm not going to journey to those lengths yet. I don't think that that's necessary. I don't know if you'll find another coach. First off, it's not happening. Leon Rose, as the GM of the Knicks, will never fire Tom Thibodeau. They are attached to the hip. I know this. The Knicks beat writers know this. Most of the Knicks Twitter people know this. It's the ones who are in denial, who are looking for clicks, calling for Tom Thibodeau's fire. It's not realistic. He is not going. The Knicks would have to lose 30 straight games with this team for Tom Thibodeau to be fired. Like, that's where we're at. Leon and Tom are attached at the hip. Unless Leon started feeling pressure from James Dolan to make changes, knowing that his job was safe, okay, now we're talking. But that's not the case. The Knicks still have a very solid record. They are selling out each game. They are still a place. I mean, the Garden is always a place, but you've seen it over the course of the last 3 years where celebrities want to go, and there's an atmosphere of, listen, this is the best show in town. James Dolan sees that, and that might be good enough for him. I don't know. I'm not tuned into what James Dolan is thinking. I've known what he's thought in the past. But right now, I just cannot see James Dolan coming down and telling Leon Rose it's either Tom or him. I just don't see that happening. Like, is it Tom's fault totally that this team is not built correctly? The fact that the Knicks expected it to work with Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns on the floor at the exact same time? No, it's not. He didn't build the roster. Like, yeah, he had some say. But either way, this team is not good enough. They're not. And whether you want to blame it on Leon, whether you want to blame it on Tom, it doesn't matter. It's still not good enough. So where does this team go from here? Like, what? Like, where can this team go? Because, quite honestly, I hate to say it. I really do. I hate to sit here on February 24th, with 25 games left, saying I have no hope for the rest of the year. Like, the Knicks are still comfortably in third place in the Eastern Conference. If everything holds, I mean, they're 4 games ahead of the Pacers, 4.5 games ahead of the Bucks. I mean, there are teams kind of lurking there. But if the Knicks continue to be as competent against teams that aren't the top 4 teams in the league, then they should be fine. They should stay as the number 4 team or the number 3 team in the Eastern Conference. Well, you know what that sets up? Second round matchup with the Boston Celtics. How could you have hope this year? How could you, in your right mind, expect the Knicks to compete with the Boston Celtics in a 7-game series where they do not even have home court advantage? Not like that matters. Doesn't really matter anymore. We've seen how good these teams have been at MSG, the top 3 teams in the NBA. As I mentioned before, there are easily 3 best teams in the NBA. They're the only 3 teams with a shot to win the title. No matter what anyone wants to tell you, no other team has a chance. No matter how good the Grizzlies look, no matter how good the Nuggets look, no matter how good the players are individually on those teams, no team is built like the Thunder. No team is built like the Cavs, especially after the DeAndre Hunter trade. How good does that make them? And the Boston Celtics, the defending champions. That's it. It's that simple. I think the Knicks are the next best team. I think talent-wise, who they have on paper makes them the 4th best team in the league. Now, why the hell can they not even put up a fight against those teams in the next tier? I don't know. I think what it boils down to is the Knicks can't play defense against these teams with all this offensive firepower, with multiple 3-level scorers in a lineup. Like, it's simply not good enough to have OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges on the opponent's best players. Do you know what they could do? They were in the pick and roll with Karl-Anthony Towns as the primary defender on the roller or the fader. What the hell happens? Wide open 3 or wide open dunk? Karl-Anthony Towns could not defend a pick and roll or a pick and pop to save his life. He can't. It's not good enough. He's not good defensively. Everything that he provides you offensively does not make up for how bad and putrid he has been in each one of these games, in each one of these 7 games. It's wide open 3 after wide open 3 after wide open 3. And as I mentioned before, the Celtics shot 6 for 19 or whatever it was from 3 in that first half. They were still up 21 points. So whatever these teams are doing against the Knicks is obviously working. And what that entails is getting Karl-Anthony Towns involved in the pick and roll action. It's that simple. It works time and time again. You can isolate one defender, especially a guard, in a lineup. You can't isolate 2. Those 2 guys will constantly, either one or the other, will be put on the island almost every single possession. Whatever action the offense is going to run, we'll put those guys involved in the play. It's that simple. It's not sustainable. No matter how good the other 3 defenders are in the lineup, especially when you're 5, when you're center, when you're supposed paint protector, that's what a center is supposed to be, can't defend the paint. He can't. So again, as I mentioned, Mitchell Robinson coming back from an injury. If you think that Mitchell Robinson coming back is going to drastically change this team's chances to win a championship, I have a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. I mean, it's asinine to think that he is going to impact this team that much. They're not even close. As I mentioned before, if they were close, they'd have a chance if Mitchell Robinson came back. Am I still intrigued to see what this team could be with him manning the paint? Yeah, I consider the fact they don't have a paint protector on the roster. Like, Huck Porty just does not rebound well at all. He's good defensively. They could still use a lot of improvement. Is he as long as Mitchell Robinson? No. Can he get out the 3-point shooters as well as Mitchell Robinson? No. And again, does he rebound as well as Mitch? No, he doesn't. Mitch healthy, without these injuries ailing him, we have no idea what kind of player he's going to be when he comes back. That's the other thing. And this isn't mentioned a lot, but this injury that he suffered, this last one, that's not the usual ankle/foot that he's had injuries with. So now you've got 2 bum feet, 2 bum ankles. with an extremely injury-prone guy. You're telling me, after watching this team get dismantled 7 times against the top teams in the league, that an injury-prone Mitchell Robinson is going to come back and change this team's fortunes? Get the fuck out of here with that. Get the fuck out of here if you think that's going to change anything. It's asinine to think that way. And you know what really sucks? Everyone says it's a 4-year window. And the Knicks have to extend Mikal Bridges to ensure that. But it's a 4-year window with this core, with Karl-Anthony Towns making as much money as he's going to be making over the next 4 years. How could you have any hope? Like, these guys are in their primes now. How much better is Jalen Brunson going to get from 28 to 30? How much better is Karl-Anthony Towns going to get in his 30s? Spoiler alert, they're not. This is not how athletes work. They enter their prime and then they leave their prime. Yes, they could do things better individually, but at some point they start to lose that athleticism. They start to lose the jumping ability. Whatever. Guys start to fizzle out. And there's no guarantee that a prime even lasts to 32, 33. I think as you're seeing, rapid advancements in treatment. And you look at LeBron and what he's been able to do with his body. So maybe that's extended a little bit. But if you're telling me this Knicks team has a chance to win anything over the next 4 years, I'm not seeing it. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And I'm going to call him out. I didn't want to do this because I've done a bunch of things before with him, and I do tend to agree with most of his tweets. But at Knicks Central, Alex B cannot be more wrong about any of this. I have never seen someone with as much false hope in my entire life. And every single one of my friends, Yankee fan friends, are Boone apologists and guys who somehow think that Aaron Judge is going to put it together in the postseason. Like what? Really? Really? Alex B is more unhinged than all of them combined. Thinking this Knicks team has a chance. Oh, Mitchell Robinson's not back yet. Oh, but it's only one game and it's only in the regular season. Fuck that. Fuck just being the regular season. Oh, but why are the standards so high? This team has sucked. They've lost consecutively in the second round, 2 years in a row. Naturally, I shouldn't be shocked about this. Those expectations improve. They go up. They get higher. You make the second round 2 years in a row. What's the next step? The conference finals. Oh, shit. Oh, that's crazy. You're either going to have to beat Boston or Cleveland to get to the conference finals. And guess what's not happening? That is not happening, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. Again, I don't know how you could possibly frame this in a positive way. I thought at least if they put up a fight against Boston yesterday, that they'd have, that I'd at least be able to have some hope for the season. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the season's over, but the season might be over. Like, will I continue to bring you content? Will I continue to talk about this team and watch each game as I've watched every game this season? Yes, of course I will. But will I sit here and make you promises about the future of this team that are completely far-fetched? No. I just don't understand how people out there can spin this into any positive. Like it was for a little. Like they put up a fight against Cleveland in that first game. The first game against OKC, they showed some fight. Looked like they were going to win that game. Since then, it's been all downhill. And, it's been with a relatively healthy team besides Mitchell Robinson. But then, if this is as bad as it's going to be on the defensive side, then why the hell did the Knicks trade for Karl-Anthony Towns? Like, yeah, it worked out in hindsight. And the Knicks never had a center. But why did the Knicks do more? To trade up in the draft. To get some of those centers in the draft that were NBA ready. Like where from the Heat? Missy from the Pelicans. These are solid talents. Knicks did not do enough to ensure that they'd have enough paint protection to start the year, knowing Mitchell Robinson would be hurt. They went out and got Karl-Anthony Towns. They went out and traded for Karl-Anthony Towns from a team that traded a boatload of picks for Rudy Gobert. And you want to know why they did that? It's because they did not trust Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5 alone. And what a shocker it is that Karl-Anthony Towns as the 5 does not make the Knicks a championship contender. Can't defend to save his life. Again, specifically against these best teams. The teams with the most offensive firepower. The teams who defensively also still play extremely well because they have a paint protector. Because they don't have defensive liabilities in their lineup like the Knicks do. They are built completely flawed. And that's a problem. So people out there think it's unfair to criticize the Knicks. After all we've seen, I don't know how they could say that. Again, I don't know how in their right minds they could find any positive in any of this. It's disastrous. That's what it is. I'm not putting it lightly by saying that. I have been known to be a pessimist when it comes to my sports teams in the past. I do not feel like I'm being pessimistic about this team, who I've had so much hope for this season. I said when they traded for Mikal Bridges, even though we had no idea the future of Isaiah Hartenstein on this team, we had no idea if OG Anunoby was 100% going to be locked back up by the Knicks. I said when they made that trade, again, before the Towns deal was made, this team is a championship contender. As it stood with the team they had, even without Hartenstein, they were a championship contender. And the Knicks went out and traded for Karl-Anthony Towns, who has been a top 10 player in the NBA this season, offensively. I don't think he's fairly been picked apart for how bad he's been defensively. Yes, there are some games when he's a beast in the paint. Simply has not been good enough against the NBA's best. You can take that to bank. The Knicks are not winning the championship. They're not. And again, I cannot understand, I cannot relate to anyone out there who thinks an injury-prone Mitchell Robinson, who's just coming off an 8-9 month recovery for his other foot, his other ankle, and expects this team to drastically and magically turn it around. I just can't see that. I can't. So then if you put Mitch in the starting lineup, like, how much spacing are you sacrificing by having him there? Yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns is better off at the 4. But you know how long it's going to take to get Mitch acclimated, back in shape? You think it's just going to be overnight? I don't know what to tell you. I don't. So that's why I'm not hopeful whatsoever for the rest of this Knicks season again. 25 games remaining. Whoop-de-do. Whoop-de-freaking-do. And I know, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir. Well, I can't say that for sure because there are some people out there, again, at Knicks Central, Alex B., who somehow think that the Knicks still have a chance this year, who somehow aren't concerned about this team losing 7 games, all 7 games they played against the top 3 teams in the NBA. Again, this isn't my opinion. You could say it's subjective because some people will disagree with me. I'd say it's objective. There are clear-cut 3 top teams in the NBA. Those 3 teams are them. Record-wise, eye test-wise, it's not close. It isn't. Those 3 teams are the best-built teams in the NBA. And the Knicks, with the talent that they possess, should not be where they are right now. They should be among those 3 teams. It should be 4 teams, 4 top teams in the NBA. And the Knicks should be able to beat one of those 3 teams on any given night. They can't. They can't. They haven't shown you anything. So, again, I don't want to sound like a pessimist here. I don't want to sit here and tell you the sky is falling. The sky is falling. All right? I don't think any pipe dream of Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to save me from this hellhole that I'm in, of having no hope. You think I've got any hope for that team? Giancarlo Stanton is headed to New York to get his tennis elbows checked out. We're screwed. Screwed. And don't get me started about my football team. This sucks. It does. And again, this is a better situation than we've been in as Knicks fans in years. I don't know how it's better than last year, though. I don't know how it's better than the year before. the Knicks actually had a chance to make the conference finals. In both years, they were the favorites on paper. How pathetic that we're at this point. All right, that'll do it for today. I got work. But this was fun. This is great. I'm so excited. Have fun. On a serious note, again, rest in peace to Al Trautwig, a legend. Grew up on him. Really sad to hear about his passing, and maybe that could light a fire under this Knicks team's ass. I don't know. But thanks to everyone for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this, if you're watching on YouTube, which I'm assuming no one is. Yeah, no one. But if you're following on X, if you're watching, drop a follow. I do these a lot. I'm going to London this week, so they will take a little break, but I'll be back next week for more Knicks content. Hopefully the Knicks can dismantle the pathetic Sixers on Wednesday night. If they lose that game, after all the stuff that's going on in Philly, you could collectively and literally end this Knicks season, and I wouldn't care. Because they have no hope. They have no hope anyway. But if they lose that game, I might end it. All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I'll talk to you all next week.